Hello and welcome to From the Wheelhouse. Our host, Captain Mark, as you all know, who's the lead on this show, had to have some hernia surgery, and I guess they found more things in there and cut him open a little bit more than what he had anticipated. So he asked me to fill in for him. As you know, I do the show a lot, but. To my surprise, I thought I was going to be doing it myself, and this lovely lady was in the next room, and she came in, and this is Nancy Michaels, and she works with several of the museums and knows Mark for several years, so
Right.
Why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
I met Mark when I was the executive director of the Coast Guard Cutter Museum, United States Coast Guard Cutter Acacia. It was in the North Slip, down there on the south side. And we worked very hard. Captain and I worked very hard together to bring news of this boat, this ship, to Chicago. Unfortunately, it was a missed opportunity for the board of the organization, a missed opportunity for Chicago. The boat is in Michigan.
What kind of a ship is it?
It's a 180-foot Coast Guard cutter, built in 1930s.
I can't believe I didn't see that thing. You said the North Wall.
The North Slip at USX. So it was hidden in that 700 acres that needs to be developed.
Oh, way down.
Way down there.
Way down.
Right. We were going to be the gateway museum to the south side.
Wow. I heard that at one time, I think they had submarine pens down there or something. If I may be mistaken. But during World War II, that area was an active area for the military. So this big cutter, that's a big boat,
It is.
is down there. And who took care of it?
I was there every single Sunday and often Wednesdays, sometimes other days during the week, to transfer the fuel, transfer diesel to the generators to keep it warm in the winter. I was there to make sure that volunteer crew kept it clean. Captain Mark had youth groups there. I had Boy Scouts there. It was busy. It was pretty busy, even though it wasn't really open to the public. Quite a bit of the public knew it was there.
I, for one, I didn't know it was there. This was all news to me. They were telling me. And how long was it there for?
It was only there for about 3 years. And then the board, as often happens, boards, they like being a volunteer board. They like the idea of being they don't have time to be a full-time board. And so when it got to the point where Navy Pier was offering us space, foundations were offering us money, the board couldn't make the leap and spend more time helping the boat and get it over that hump.
So it was owned by a foundation, not the Coast Guard anymore.
Correct.
Oh,
Coast
okay,
Guard gate.
wow. And now it's in Michigan?
Now it's in Michigan.
What part?
It's in Muskegon.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Along with the city of Milwaukee, the old train ferry.
yeah, well, we're always learning. I'm just trying to picture in my head where they even had that thing moored. That's by the old steel
Right.
works. I didn't even know there's a place to. Well, they must have had docks there for.
There are two slips, the North Slip, which is still pretty much unused except for fishermen. You can catch perch there. And the South Slip, which Solo Cup almost bought.
So it sounds like you have a love of boating. I know you're
do.
involved with the Heritage, what do they call it? The
Maritime Museum.
Maritime Museum. You're involved with that. Were you there when the river bank rose and flooded out the place?
Yes. I mean, I wasn't obviously in the building, but
Right.
yes. Yes.
Yeah, that was a terrible
Yes.
event, And what have they done to remedy that? Did they go back further from the river? They put it up on stilts or what?
Well, they can't. That's an old building. It's
Right.
been there forever, since
Right.
probably 1902 or something.
Right.
It was part of the Spiegel Empire down there.
Okay.
And there's not much you can do. It's only 4 feet from the river. I guess we have to rely on the Coast Guard to keep the pool down and do
Wow.
what we can.
Didn't Captain Dave Truitt have a lot to do with getting that thing?
Yes, he did.
He put up quite a bit of money and
He
stuff.
sure did. And of course, they premiered his movie about
Yeah.
the Eastland there. He's done a lot.
Uh,
We have a lot of really good people there.
Yeah. Well, Captain Dave Truitt is well, like Captain Mark himself, he's a merchant marine captain. He was a pretty famous lawyer and he had a love of the maritime industry. He had a boat himself one time, the Charlotte Ann. I don't know if you ever heard that.
Yeah, they used to park right in front of the Silversides on Navy Pier in the 1980s. I remember that boat quite well because I was a member of the Silversides. I was one of the docents.
Yeah, because he used him and his crew, they used it as sort of like a lure to meet young, lovely women in Chicago. And it worked.
And it worked.
Because he...
and Captain Crunch, too. He did a little bit advertising. I recall.
He's a nut. In fact, he met his long-term girlfriend on a cruise, and her name was Charlotte also.
Okay.
And they would advertise in the paper, and they're basically, hunting. And this gal Charlotte, her mother said, "Why didn't you go down to this thing?" She was single, and said, And lo and behold, she went down and met Dave Truitt. They fell in love, and they dated for like 20 years until she died.
Wow.
They went all over the world, yeah.
How nice.
Yeah, unfortunately, she developed ALS, and it's a tough way to go. But he was heartbroken by it too.
I'm sure.
But wow, we're finding all these things we have in common. And you remember Shipmasters?
I do. I remember Shipmasters.
And I was a member at one time, and I was Captain Mark when he was the president. How do I say this? Let's say he had an adversarial group that were, wanting him to fail. So they wouldn't even volunteer for his officer position, so that's why they asked me to be the secretary. And I did. And I remember we'd be up there at on the stage, behind the table, and these guys would be like, it was like, shoot straight, get
Right.
Captain Mark,
Right.
don't get me,
Right.
But you said you were in the audience. You
I
saw
was
it.
in the audience.
It
yes.
got pretty ugly.
It did get pretty ugly.
What a small world. Well, we have a video here that I would like to show you.
Okay.
And Nancy, you haven't seen it, so you can comment on it, but let's roll it. This was down at Florida Inlet, and the guy misjudged as he was coming into the cut, into the harbor. Now you see him going, this is about a $1.4 million yacht. He starts slowing down, he lost his bearings, and look what is in front of him.
Oh my.
Nancy, what do you see?
Holy cow. How do you miss that?
I don't know.
And he's supposed to. He has what? 3 inches? 4 inches there?
And I think it's 4 outboards.
There's plenty of power to stay away from those rocks.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened here, but the name of the game here is, once you get caught in a situation like this, it's very, very difficult to get out. As you can see, he's trying to back off, but he's got the wave action.
Right, the waves, the wind.
Yeah, and every time...
And that post.
Right, then he's got the other marker behind him. So, I mean, the thing is just fraught with, you could see him bouncing there, you see him...
Right,
Now,
right.
folks,
Looks like he hit the rock a little bit.
Yeah, now folks, let me tell you, there it is, the Boca Raton Inlet, the wind is blowing southeast at 15 miles an hour, which is not that bad.
Right.
But this guy, it made a big mistake. Now he can't get out of it, so they're calling for help. And normally the Coast Guard would come out here, but instead they had the local fire department that came out to get him. Now they're going to be coming into the picture here. Ooh, this gets uglier and uglier.
Right.
And
He's hitting the bottom
let
there.
me tell you, folks. Every time that fiberglass kisses that rock, you're looking at least $5,000. And you can see no matter he's getting more and more wedged in here.
Right.
Now when the fireboat shows up, it hurts just to watch this. Because I like you, I love boats, and look at the guy trying to push off with a
little stick.
Yeah, good luck, buddy.
Is that a fishing pole?
Pole, yeah. These guys are,
They're doing something different. I don't know. They came in at the wrong angle. There you go, a brush.
Yeah, no, he's got his brush there. All right. And now when the fireboat shows up in a minute here, I got very nervous because I thought the fireboat was going to wind up in the rocks because I don't know if you've ever been in a situation like this where you're trying to rescue somebody. You know, you can get in a lot of trouble yourself.
Right.
Have you ever had that experience?
I have not. No, I've been in a similar situation to that when I was helping take a boat down the river and we got caught in a storm. But once again, the fire department showed up and it was, you know, they were wonderful.
Yeah. Look at them. Look, you're scrambling for lines, anchors, everything. I mean, this is what happens when you're ill prepared.
This drone designed to save lives mysteriously disappeared.
Drone. What's this one? The drone.
There's a tiny US
We seem to have.
Oh, there we go.
Video.
Okay, all right. So, this fireboat, I was really impressed because when he comes off the sea, he got dangerously close to the rocks. Here he comes to the rescue, right? And oh wait, that's not the fireboat. That's some other, good Samaritans, and they wisely. They looked at this and said, we're going to get in trouble ourselves too. So they said,
That's something we're taught in captain school. If you see a boat on fire, call the Coast Guard, but don't get too close because then you can catch on fire. And
Right.
You're too disastrous.
so they're pulling away. And the other thing is when you're in these kind of situations is that people love it. Let's look at this babe in the bikini. Everyone's coming around. Everyone loves,
One love.
other people's misery. Anyway, so, but pretty soon when these fireboat guys come up, give them a lot of credit because they look at it, Gil.
I know. Those boats are pretty
And look at these poor guys. They're
Right.
trying everything. Their brushes, their ropes, their fishing poles.
What are they going to do? Throw an anchor out there? What are they trying to do there?
I'm not sure, but I mean, this is like the Keystone Cops on a boat and moving through. So I'm not quite sure. It looks like he raised his engines, probably to preserve them from getting banged on the rocks too. But as you know, with an outboard, once you do that, you lose a lot of your horsepower.
Is that a good boat?
Right.
Pull you off.
Right.
So because the thing goes on. Now we got some guys on the rocks coming over here trying to help them. And come on, you firemen, where are you guys at? When they come by here, you'll see that because as the water recedes, you can see how the rocks come down on a slant. So even though you can't see them,
But you would think he's in the water, but you can see the way the boat's moving. He's actually sitting on some of those rocks.
yes, he is. Yeah. So when the look at that, $1.3 million. It was a 42-foot LRs. So the firemen, when they come up, it's very interesting to see how they sort of approach the situation because the boat's getting hit even harder now.
Yeah.
And
You wonder if someone got on the radio right away, or if they waited until now to call. They may have thought we can get out of this.
well, I'm sure other people were calling for him. There goes a knucklehead in a jet ski. I mean, and what's the other thing you notice here? None of them have their life preservers on.
Right.
But the Coast Guard will tell you the first time you get in a bit of a jam and your situation becomes a little bit precarious, you want to put on that PFD because, if the boat gets destroyed, you got insurance, that's one thing, but you can't save a life. So now look at, they're all over the one side and they're just overwhelmed with the power of the waves and the weight of the boat. And come on, fire department, you come up here. Yeah.
Now, it seems like a long time, but it's probably only a couple minutes before the fire department actually shows up. This is the whole thing live, so someone is filming it.
Right.
And we're only talking 3 minutes.
Right.
But when you're on that boat, it's scary.
It's scary and heart-wrenching. And the other thing about the sea is, once she gets you in a compromising position like that, it's like a pit bull. She's not going to let you get
Right.
loose. So she's got him in his jaws, and when these fire department guys show up, you'll see that they sort of circle to see, hey, you know, how do we approach this and blah, 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 blah. And next thing you know, they got too close, and I thought, oh, they're going to go up in the rocks too.
Right.
But,
Because we don't see it, but that post is still there. Trying to get in
right,
on the port side of the
Right.
boat here is very tricky.
right,
Otherwise, you could say, hey, you could just drive in, you know, throw a line over the cleat and pull her away. But
Yeah.
it's not that simple.
it's never that simple. There goes that girl in that bikini again,
Right.
you know, going back
So-
and forth.
It's a photo opportunity to be
Yeah.
on TV.
But when I first saw this, and it's going to be coming up here shortly, I've been in situations where I've had rescue people that have been in a bind, and the big thing is you want to make sure you don't join them. It's just like
Right.
when you go to try to rescue someone that's drowning, you got to be very careful because here they come, the rescue boys. Dun, dun. Boca Raton. By the way, you know what that stands for?
No.
The rat's mouth. Raton is rat,
Okay.
and Boca is mouth. So watch them come. Now these guys are local fire rescue. They are not the
Coast Guard,
USCG. So now watch how they approach them, nice and easy, and you're trying to assess the situation. It's like, how do we get this knucklehead off the rocks? So. But he gets dangerously close too. You'll see.
Well, even now, there's that post there. He's
Yeah.
trying to get close, eyeing the situation.
Yeah.
You know, can we throw you a line? They're like, no.
And he's only got two
Right.
outboards,
Right.
and they don't look like they're really high horsepower either. So what they're trying to do is get him a line. Oh, and there he goes again. Bam, bam. Okay, here's what I mean. See how the water started taking him? And I
Yes.
thought, oh man, they're going to bring him right into this guy, and
Right, 'cause-
he's going to wind up on the rocks.
That inlet is not very large.
No. Oh, oh,
Yep, there we go.
getting closer and closer.
Yeah, instead of
How he managed to
There you go.
There he goes.
caught the round.
Yeah. Notice how he backs away,
Right.
but he's still very dangerously close to being put up on those rocks himself.
He is. Look at that. Swinging
Yeah,
close. He's,
yeah. Oh, every time that boat bangs, it's like being in the ring with Mike Tyson
I
getting a
know.
punch.
As soon as they was on the cleat,
Okay, now look.
They need to
Now
back
look
up.
how he swung over by the rocks.
that's it's pretty dicey there. Even
Yeah.
For the Coast Guard.
Yeah. Somehow.
Because it looks like they could easily pull the blue boat into the rocks further.
Exactly. Somehow this fire department guy gets turned around. I'm not quite sure how he did, but well, you can see how he's got his engines,
Right.
to the starboard in reverse.
Right,
He's
trying to pull himself around.
He's trying to maintain his position as best he can. There he goes. Does he get him loose?
Oh wow, he did. Great job.
Couple more bangs on the rocks.
This is not the end of the story for the blue boat, though. I'm sure they have lots of paperwork and questions.
Yeah.
But they're
But-
lucky. Look at those rocks.
But he did it.
But he did it.
So, and I'm just really impressed that fire rescue crew, the job that they
They
did.
did a great job.
Yeah. And I'd like to see the other side of that guy's boat, extensive damage and repairs. Alrighty, thank you.
It doesn't seem to be sinking, but yeah, there's some fiberglass work that will have to
Yeah.
be done.
All right, thanks for putting that video up. So looking at that, Nancy, what would you have to say about that? What the guy did?
Just, well, look at those waves.
Yes.
You know, those may have been too big for him to be going out.
Yeah.
You got to make sure your boat is appropriate for the weather.
Now you told me you started the process to get your captain's license.
I did, yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about your
My experiences.
experience? Yeah.
Well, as a woman, it's a little more difficult to get time on a boat, period. It's hard to be taken seriously. You know, there's a lot of people who think that my place is to accept a glass of wine and sit over there. I don't mind that. I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
But I want to travel, and I want to get paid to travel. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to be the captain of a tender on a cruise ship? I can go all over the world doing this.
Yes.
The problem is getting enough time, because there's things you need: documentation. You need the TWIC card, the Transportation Workers ID. You need all kinds of credentials.
Okay.
Your radio license. And that's just before you get started.
Okay, I just renewed mine. Let's see if the overhead's working. I don't think so. All right.
But in any case, in order to get that beautiful license, you have to do a certain number of hours, spend a certain number of hours
Oh, here it
on
is.
a boat doing work. And the number of hours is 360 days. And a day is no less than 4 hours on a boat. And you're thinking, hold on a minute, 4 hours, how hard is that? And you could do more than one day, right, on a boat. Except the Coast Guard says you cannot have more than one boat per 24 hours.
Right. It's called sea time.
Sea time.
It's just like a pilot, you know.
Right.
You got to go through all this paperwork exams and all these other
All these
things.
hours, right.
And even though you pass all that, you got to have practical experience.
Correct.
So this is what's called a TWIX card. It stands for Transportation Workers ID card.
Right, it does.
And-
And that you spend $160 and you're done. Well, they
Right.
have to do a background check and things like that.
And on top of that, then you got to have your medical card,
Right.
and you got to have your
Is that your radio license?
your radio license card to show that you have a FCC license. Then you got to have your CPR and
Right.
first aid card. And then the other thing, you got to be in a drug consortium.
Right. You do your drug test,
All right, I got that
proper
here.
training.
All right, so
Some people have to go for the fireman's license as well. So there's
Yeah.
some fire training.
so if the Coast Guard stops you, and you say, "Well, I'm a captain," okay, well, yeah. They'll say, "Show us your license." Okay, first one you do this is pull out this puppy, and it's very similar to a passport. And then they'll say, "Okay, show us your TWIX card."
And you need that not just to be on the boat, but in any regulated boat-related areas. So
Correct.
any port.
Yeah,
Any loading dock.
because ports are like airports.
Right.
Yeah, they want to be secure because a terrorist could get into a port with, say, like a dirty nuclear bomb and do unbelievable damage. And then they'll say, "Okay, where's your CPR and first aid card?" All right, there it is. Okay, where's your FCC license? Okay, there it is. Okay, where's your health card? All right, there it is. And
There's a reason the captain used to go down with the boat, and that's because he used to be an owner in the corporation that owned the boat. And so rather than having to deal with all this, it was just easier to go down with the boat 150 years ago. And that's why you need the CPR license. People need to be assured that you have competency for saving lives.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you're aware of how the bareboat industry has like blown, just expanded like
It
crazy.
has, yes.
And the Coast Guard has been trying to. The bareboat industry is sort of like the rideshare industry with cars like Uber and Lyft. Before you only had taxis and everything was commercial and licensed a certain way. And then along came Uber and Lyft and rideshares, and that sort of changed the dynamic of how licensing works. And then along came the bareboats, where you can take a recreational vessel, put it up for hire.
It's like a timeshare
Yeah.
apartment.
Right. And anyways, it's
Mark's on the phone.
oh, Mark's on the phone.
Uh-huh.
Just speak to him. Let us speak.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Let me turn it off.
How you doing? I'm here with the beautiful Nancy and our Coast Guardsman.
I cannot I just have to thank you so much for coming on today's show. Yes, I really probably need to teach my doctor not because my
I can hear him.
loose,
Oh, you can hear him.
you know. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on today's show, Nancy. You know,
Captain Mark, we are so
what
pleased to be part of your show, helping
I have learned
the audience
much
understand how
from-
these things work.
Hey, Nancy, tell him that he looked like he was driving that boat that was up in the rocks. We just showed that video.
I think he's
No,
a little more
yeah,
skilled than that.
And Captain Jim, thank you so much for hosting the show for me today.
So he's thanking Captain Jim for hosting today.
Oh, okay.
You know, I
Captain
really
Mark
want to
extends his-
tell you congratulations that you got your license. And I want you to turn to the lady right now. I want you to let her know.
I wish all of you could hear these kind words. Captain Mark is recovering.
on learn how to drive boats because we train people how to drive boats. So
Yeah.
Nancy has some sea hours with me already, and I'm willing to sign the document. Yes, sir.
He was saying something about you. That,
Right,
yeah.
Captain Mark, we're having difficulties here, technical difficulties hearing you. I can of course come back and talk to you and Jim here when you're feeling a little better. We're having a great time
Yeah.
on the show talking about captain licensing and bareboats.
And we have Captain Andrew here too, right?
Right.
Oh,
And what a video! What a video! Thank you also, Captain Matthew, for helping out. With the video.
Excuse me.
I'm going to hang up.
All right.
Listen.
All right. Thank you, Captain Mark. Over and out.
And by the way, we have Captain Matt here. Captain Matt was in the Coast Guard for 10 years, and he is recently separated, and now he's you do have your captain's license, right? So he's a merchant marine captain, and he said, I could tell by you watching that video. I don't think that you related to that because you've had to save a lot of people and people in those crazy situations, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what did you think of that video?
I thought that he lost situational awareness
Yeah.
very quickly. The operator did,
Yeah.
and I like the approach that the fire department made.
Yeah.
They made the great approach.
But didn't you get a little nervous there? The way they looked like they almost got pulled into that ugly situation too.
Absolutely, and he had to bow in. That was
Yeah.
the best way to come in and get that
Right.
cat's paw over to them,
Yeah.
and then pull him off. Slowly.
Yeah.
My main concern was the shock load of that line.
Yeah.
Because you get that snapback, and they should have cleared that bow quickly. The fire department,
Yeah.
either or,
Yeah.
because the snapback could have came from either side.
Now that was at the inlet of Boca Raton. So in Florida, and a lot of these inlets, they're all very dangerous. But we got our own ones here, right?
We sure
Miss
do.
Good. You want to?
31st Street
Yeah,
is a real
go ahead.
pain.
Yeah.
31st Street has a small entrance. The rocks are piled up. It means they're kind of like a pyramid on both sides of the entrance. So you have to come through the center of the entrance. It's narrow.
Right.
And the channel is narrow.
And if you make a mistake, you'll be just like that guy, right?
Absolutely. Especially if southerly wind, big waves curling in.
Yeah. And the other big thing is you got to be careful. As you said, it's a narrow opening. So if you're coming in or going out, you better do a wide sweep and make sure that there's not another boat trying to come in at the same time.
Right.
Because that makes it extremely narrow and extremely dangerous for everybody.
Correct.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have the break walls, which everyone hits every year. And they had that $2 million 50-foot azimuth that wound up
Yes.
after the scene party on the break wall at Burnham. And they got off. There were really no major injuries, but they left the boat there, and then they had northeast winds, and there were like
Right.
5-foot waves, and just destroyed that $2 million yacht. Just pounded and pounded
Right.
before
Right, it was up on the
the
rocks.
salvage crews could get over and get it. So sometimes when I think all the stuff that can happen, it just, I try not to think about it too much, because,
Right. Well, talking about your licensing there, some of these situations you're dealing with a boat owner or a boat owner's friend because the boat owner has to go get a sandwich or something. And, if you're going to drink and drive, hire a captain. I mean, that's the way it is. It better be safe. It's worth a couple $100 for your boat and you to arrive home.
so do you have any interactions with the bareboat charter companies that have been
No,
popping up?
I do not.
You're lucky. Because it's just like when Uber and Lyft came out. Remember, the taxi companies, and they were all trying to sue them, and they had really good legal teams, and they weathered a lot of the challenges. And the bareboats are sort of like the same way. I mean,
But they're smaller, and that's why I don't really. I work a full-time job outside of the boating industry, so I don't have to be on a boat all the time. But I do help a friend who's a captain. I'm his first mate when he needs an assistant. And I'll tell you, the liability there, for the bareboat. We live in a litigious society.
right.
And people feel slighted at the smallest, inclination. So I'm just not confident.
Well, let me tell you a quick story that'll back that up. There was a bareboat company down there in Belmont, and I knew the owner operated. He had sailboats and he had 2 power boats, and they were out on a sail with some people, and there was some gale, and some powerboat came by and supposedly to a big wake, and you know how sailboats really,
Right.
and the gal was not sitting down or whatever, she was standing, and as the boat rocked, she went over and landed right on one of the cleats
Oh,
on her
On her butt, yeah.
cheeks of the gluteus maximus. Anyways, and it penetrated the skin, sort of like being stabbed.
right.
And she had to go to the hospital and get stitches. Well,
Wow.
that's sort of like the risk of boating, rocking.
Right.
And anyway, she ended up suing the company that rented the sailboat and suing the captain. So the company had a insurance coverage, so they settled her, but the captain didn't. She dogged that guy forever, and he finally gave up. Say, I'll never take another charter again. And he was mechanically inclined, and he just became a mechanic
Right.
on the boats. So crazy stuff can happen. It's just really.
The woman was probably unaware that this is dangerous.
Right.
You go ride a horse, you can get kicked
That's
or
right.
get thrown off. And when you're dealing with a boat, if you're not careful, if you get your hand or your foot between the boat and the dock, it can be crushed. It can. I mean, there's 1,000 things that can go wrong. There are just inherent dangers, and we have to understand that.
Yeah.
And having a good captain is one of the important things, but common sense.
Yeah, well, now we're coming up on Memorial Day weekend. I think
gonna be
the
crazy.
beaches are officially opening tomorrow. And I was watching. They don't have enough lifeguards. Even like Castaways, those places, the bars, they don't have enough people to bartend and all this, but they're going to open. But they had I think it was a 16-year-old gal up in Wilmette, drowned, and they didn't. She was out swimming in the lake, and they didn't have lifeguards out there.
Wow.
So, folks, you got to be careful. You got to be careful of these rip tides, and the beaches are going to be opening up, but there might be 1 or 2 lifeguards out there, but not enough to keep an eye on the whole beach.
And even then, you're at your own risk.
Right.
You saw the waves with that boat on the rocks. If those are 4-foot waves, that little boat shouldn't have been out there. And that's how it is with swimming also. If you look for the flags.
That was
red,
a 42-foot boat.
well, a red flag means you stay out of the water. Yellow
Right.
flag means you can go wading.
Yeah,
I mean,
All right. Well, I think we're pretty much near the end of our time. I'd like to thank Nancy. It was a
great
pleasant
time.
surprise. And then, our Captain Matt over here, he's setting us up for the podcast. He works with Captain Mark. Oh, Captain Matt, how do you find the bareboat industry now that you're...
on the other side.
you're on the other side.
I think I have to, the one thing for me with Bareboat, you just have to be, have that hospitality.
Yeah.
And, that the military side, you have to kind of
True.
pull back. And now you have to bring that hospitality side,
Right.
for retention.
Right.
Yeah, you got to find it balance.
Right. You have to
And,
find that balance, yeah.
Because if you're too much into,
Mm-hmm.
pleasing them, next thing you know, they'll take control of the boat and
Exactly.
bye-bye birdie.
Yeah.
Right.
But I came in just like with a straight,
Yeah, yeah.
too militant, I guess.
Well, I get criticized for that too. I'm told all the time not to.
Yeah.
I'm a meanie, and Captain Bill Russell, they call him Captain Death because he talks about all the fatalities on the lakefront, and so, it's he's not making this stuff up.
No.
So,
There's a million stories and they're all true.
all right, folks. Well, thanks for tuning in, Captain Mark. We hope you get better, and thank you for my pleasant guest here, Nancy, and.
Thank you.
Captain Matt is doing a podcast for Captain Mark. Could you address a little bit about how that works if people want to tune into his podcast?
Yeah, so we're going to be putting it on various platforms like Apple Music, some of the, I can't think of the other ones, but the various social music listening platforms where you can listen to podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where they're going to be placed on.
Okay.
Yeah.
From the wheelhouse?
From the wheelhouse.
All right.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So this will be on there as well.
Wow.
Thank you.
Well, I tell you, we try to bring our experiences to you. I know some of the stuff, it sounds like, God, it's too crazy. It happens.
It happens.
All righty. Bye-bye, folks.
Bye. Thank you from the wheelhouse.